it's all just a symptom of being human.
Welcome to the MSP Kingdom podcast. We love that name. We love it. We love this industry, everything about being an MSP or IT service. And so we wanted to start this podcast, the MSP Kingdom. I've got Chadd Mazac here, myself, Bobby Lind, and we're going to set this up. This is the first one. So, we hope that the podcast will be something to entertain, inspire, educate, and really build the kingdom of MSPs out there. And, it'll be the kingdoms, the MSP community, businesses, vendors, all things MSP. So it's kind of what we're shooting for or looking to do. So let's introduce ourselves first. So I'll introduce Chadd Mazac here. We are founders and partners in many businesses, and Chadd is definitely the smartest person I've ever known. Big time tech engineer, guru. And why don't you add to that, Chadd? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. So I've been over 20 years in the IT industry, almost all of it MSP. Got my start in corporate IT a little bit, worked on a government contract on a big network, and when I got into the MSP space, that's when I really fell in love with IT and knew I would want to do that forever. I live in Middleton, Idaho, beautiful Middleton, Idaho, out there on an acre of goat heads with my wonderful wife and 4 kids. And I'm really blessed to have a great job that I love every day. Many different facets of the MSP space I've been able to work in and just really love it. And Bobby Lind, my fantastic business partner, smartest business guy I know. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. My background, operations, financial, accounting, and then also IT service MSP. We've both been in the industry a really long time. We've worked for multiple different MSPs of all sizes, big ones, small ones, all over the country. And for me, my background, I went to school, got my bachelor's, and then when I got my MBA, and of course, as I've been out there building my career, it's been with in the MSP space, IT service space. You and I met one time working at an MSP, and kind of went from there. And I definitely, all that experience and has helped me. I've got myself personally. I'm married to just an amazing, beautiful person, Andrea. And we've got 3 wonderful kiddos, just amazing. We love our family, and it's definitely both Chadd and I. Family is a very important to us, and it always has been. So, but that's me. Also, too, big time sports dude. Love everything sports, and so I will incorporate a lot of this stuff that we like into this podcast. I'm sure at some point we'll let Chadd geek out about the 3D printing.
Yeah, I love 3D printing.
He loves that, and so kind of go from there. With this podcast. A few things, Chadd, is what we want to see it, get out of it, what it needs to be, all that kind of stuff. We definitely are not going to be highly scripted or any of that. I think both of us feel like that in the MSP space that whether it's vendors, other things that we're not really sure if everyone's really looking out for MSPs the way they should be.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's a bit of an echo chamber sometimes. And, why add another voice? There's already a lot of MSP podcasts. There's tons of content. But I've always wanted to do this. I'm glad we're getting to, because when we stepped into the space as owners, when we became a startup, I remember, listening to a podcast every single day on my walk, trying to soak it all in. And then as we grew and we applied all the things we learned, I just realized that a lot of the stuff out there, it really didn't help. And some of it even hurt, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any reason not to add more voices, add more opinions, because not everything works that you hear from other people.
Sure.
And, just we can share what has worked for us and for people we talk to, and hopefully that'll be helpful.
Yeah, sure. And we're going to have really good guests on, interesting guests. And, we've been in the vendor space now as well the last couple of years, which has been something different. And whether it's the conferences or associations we've made with that, whatever, we, on one hand, that's been exciting, but as well, it's like, wow, there's like way too much pay to play. There's way too many things out there not really focused on the MSPs. And so this podcast is powered by Zest MSP, and in the Studio 17 is where we're doing this. So, but one of the things I wanted to bring up is, or not one of the things, what we want to get out of this podcast. So it's for MSPs, first of all. That's who we're geared towards, and not selling them anything or any of that. Just interesting subjects, again. Inspiring, interesting, and entertaining. So, no topics are off limits. We'll go into any topic, and we want guests coming on that are helping the industry. We're not paid for by anyone, never will be. Right. So we're not going to cater to any certain vendor or company or anything like that. Which means, there'll be times we're probably going to rip on ConnectWise or Kaseya, potentially. Maybe not, but we might. And maybe there's others out there that we're going to be very critical of. Mm-hmm. Maybe not. Maybe there's ones that we're going to be complimentary to. But absolutely, it's going to be around our own experience, first of all, because that's what we have. Right. Which you've already said doesn't mean it's the only way. But it's a way. It's a way. We'll share it. Yeah. And people might identify with it or not, but so we'll see how that goes. But we definitely are going to be focused towards what we think is best for MSPs, best practices, best things to do, how to move forward. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I always wished I could find more content on as we were building our MSP from the ground up. I mean, it was a bold venture. It wasn't some sort of situation where we bought out an existing company. Yeah. We stepped into it with one customer. Yeah. That couldn't even remotely pay the bills. Yeah. But we felt like we could do it. We felt like we could bring something to our market that wasn't there. And over time that was proved out, and it was great. But one of the things that I hope we can do in this podcast is share some real actionable things that we have seen work and that we're learning work at other places for actually delivering world-class IT service. Yeah. A lot of times it gets lost in the mix because you're making a podcast to appeal to people who own an MSP. But as we found out as we stepped into the vendor space, the vast majority of people who own an MSP, they're still trying to make their service offering better. Absolutely. And that's what I hope we can give a lot of content along those lines, things that actually make your customers fall in love with you. Yeah. That's what it's about. Absolutely. And also, make more money. You got to make that money and I always like to say shake and bake. If you're not first, you're last. But not too intense, you can't stress out in life or with your business, but we hopefully it'll help MSPs, this podcast, make more money. I really want that. And yeah, starting our own MSP, that's quite a story. I mean, we'd worked at an MSP together and knew each other, and we would. I'll never name names on it, but boy, we learned a lot of things not to do. Yep. Really, in that experience, a lot of things not to do. It was bad, and then also some of our other travels we had learned a lot of things not to do. We had a few stops along the way where we did learn some good things.
Absolutely.
But I was working for Aero Electronics, big, massive company. Very, very good, cushy job. But that came to an end. They shut down the whole office. It wasn't even had nothing to do with our production or anything like that. It's just like, we're going to move all this to Colorado. We're shutting it down. And so Andrew and I were both working there, actually. And so what are we going to do?
And they told you can move, or you're done.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, not everyone got that, but yeah. So went and spoke with you, said, hey, let's do this. And it was a bold move. I mean, we had no safety net, and all three of us went from what I would say making excellent, great money to no safety net, and we had to make a go of it.
That's right.
And so when we talk about world-class IT service, or how to be a world-class MSP, like, I hope, and maybe we have to tell this story, many times to let people know that we're coming from a place that we understand, across the country, across the globe, like what you're going through, what you're trying to do. And sometimes we will bring up some stuff that we took a hard line on.
Right.
And I want people to know that story, because I want them to know that it wasn't an easy decision.
Right.
We'll talk about it many times, I'm sure, in this podcast, but the hard line to not do any per hour or break fix.
Right.
We did that from day one. We said, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We are going to build an MSP where we have customers that are, paying us a monthly fee. We're going to do the service, all of it from A to Z. We're going to take care of them. And we built a brand and a strategy around that. Again, not that that's the only way, but the success from that decision was 100 times. I mean, 100-fold. Like, it propelled us very quickly to build a really excellent MSP.
You're right. That was a very important decision. It's a really hard decision to make, and it's especially hard when you're already generating money with some break fix. It's really hard to give that up. And so I'm glad we never started, because we may have been, difficult for us to give it up, but we did. There were times where we had to say, hey, sorry, we can't take this money, because this money is not going to build what we're trying to build. Yeah. And that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, and I remember positive things from it too. I remember early on, right away, like you said, we had one customer, Stacy Coleman, right?
Yep.
Forever indebted to her, right?
Our favorite customer, really.
Our favorite customer, our favorite person. She's amazing. And we don't even work with her anymore, but it got our start. But, I remember early on meeting with a very small potential customer, 2 people, 1 bookkeeper, so 2.5, 3, whatever. And they definitely were in need of good IT service. Although they were small, they were a high volume or high sales customer. They made a lot of money with just 2 people or 3 people. And I remember having that discussion with them, and they absolutely just wanted, by hour, break fix, nothing else. They just were just set on that. And I finally just said to them, well, what would you pay? What would you pay per month that makes it worth it for you to always have, an IT service? And we came upon an amount. It was small, but it worked. And last time I checked, they're still a customer with the MSP we built. So,
Yep.
how many years later, many dollars brought in. So I just think there's ways to make that happen. So not the topic for today, but, and a lot of, that's just a teaser topic, a lot of other teaser topics, that I can think of, and things I hear, actually from a lot of vendors that most of the time just upset me.
Yeah.
I mean, because it feels like in some ways, whereas that some people are wanting to go back in some ways to this, per hour or break fix type of model, or like almost turning MSPs into VARs, or like selling things based on line items and all this kind of stuff. And I've heard the word, all you can eat out there, don't be all you can eat and stuff like that. And again, just another teaser subject we'll do that later on, because, when our services were never just everything. It's like, no, we'll do for you what we've put in the agreement. You'll get that every month for a fee, but not more than what's in there.
Yep. And other things sometimes got added when appropriate. So,
and then a price raised or projects, whatever. So, I don't know.
I'm totally with you. That'll be a topic for a different day, but I do want to talk about it, and I think there's a really simple reason that we keep hearing that and running into it. If a vendor's trying to sell you something, that's going to eat into your bottom line unless you charge extra for it.
Right.
And so, of course, there's a message of, well, don't just include everything, don't be all you can eat, because then you won't buy my product.
Right.
Because that'll eat into your bottom line.
Right.
But, we went through that ourselves as well. Mm-hmm. We had our core package.
Yep.
We identified changing needs. We need to add things to the package. And because of the relationship we had built with our customers, we went to them and said, hey, your price needs to go up, but because we're going to do these new things, they understood. And, so you can add new products when you need them.
Yeah.
You don't have to try to resell everything. You don't have to fall back into being a VAR.
Right. Yeah, good point. And another teaser subject down the line, it's like relationship, right? I mean, number one, gets talked about.
Number 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, number 1, 2, and 3 gets talked about, but not enough, and maybe not in details of how to, have a great relationship with your customer, but how, why? Well, we can give people details.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Really minute details of these are the things to do.
Right.
To build that relationship. Your customer will never leave you. Over time, you build those efficiencies, the dollars build, everything else builds. And it's very easy to go to your customer and say, we got to raise your price because of this. And they say, okay.
Yep.
And how do we know that? Because we've done it. We've lived it.
We've done it.
Yep.
That's right.
And
But it does relate to the topic we're going to cover today, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love this topic. I think this is the conversation that gets avoided.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that I think it's because in the marketplace there's just a lot of people who make money off of kind of ignoring this fact.
Yeah.
Or because well, you can introduce the topic. I'm interested to get into it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So topic today is before we do that, like we're trying to do this cool podcast. So we like have our own Jamie. Like Joe Rogan has his Jamie. And so we have our own Jamie. His name is Skylar. And he's behind the scenes here. He's doing everything. So I kind of went back like this guy. Am I still in frame? Everything good? Okay. Just checking with you. So he's our Jamie. So that's going to be good. And at the very end of the podcast, we have a very awesome announcement for the next one.
Yeah.
A guest that's just the best guest. I mean, wow. I mean, we just have mass respect.
Wow is the word, yeah.
Yeah, we have mass respect for this person. So we'll throw that out there. So, yeah, topic is today sales versus service delivery.
Yes.
In regards to growth.
Yep.
Yeah. And
that's a boring topic, right? sales.
Right.
It's the number one topic, I'd say, on MSP podcasts.
Yeah.
Everybody, I need more customers. How do I get sales?
Yeah.
And I think everybody approaches it wrong.
Yeah. 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 I mean, definitely, traditionally, again, everything we say on this podcast doesn't mean it's has to be this way or that way. But traditionally, an MSP or an IT services will start by a tech or a engineer, and they kind of roll with it from there. So maybe the marketing and sales piece is just always something that is something they're not familiar with. They need help with that kind of stuff. Now, when we started ours, we had the advantage of having IT, operations, business, and then also branding, marketing.
Branding and marketing.
We had like
Andrea.
we had like this three. Andrea is just amazing branding, marketing. We had this, 3 different things of moving forward. It really helped us. So, with sales, one thing that we always thought about from the start, and I'll set this up and then get your thoughts on it. But basically, as we went through it, is growth through service delivery. Like you're going to grow through your service delivery. Most of what you get in this industry is going to be referrals, and there's nothing wrong with that. And this industry is different. Like it is unique. It is different than other industries in terms of sales and marketing. And I'm very familiar with other industries, and that's why I can say that. But and so one thing we've seen that sets it apart is that service delivery. As you focus on the service delivery, and this is how I like to say it. You focus on the service delivery. That's your main. You sprinkle a little sales and marketing in. Yeah. You just sprinkle a little in. And that is a winning combination for growth. Also, not to have chaos, and to really, round out a healthy business, I mean, I remember one story of sales that's different is, price. In a lot of industries, price is something that you can use. And I remember we were working with a law firm to get them as a customer. Mm-hmm. And we had this nice, beautiful brochure that we'd made, spent a lot of money on. And inside of there, half of the page was a big, massive coupon. Yeah.
That was my brilliant idea. Oh, I know what we can do.
But I went with it. $5,000, right? $5,000.
Service coupon.
Yeah, service coupon. Eventually, they could use it for a month off or equipment and stuff. Anyways, it's like. And so I'm talking to this managing partner of this law firm. He's holding this brochure, and they've agreed to go with us. Yeah. But nothing's been mentioned of this coupon. Right. So I had the angel on this side saying, you got to tell him. You got to bring it up. I had the devil on this side saying, don't mention it, right? And I'm thinking, I don't know what's, But I did mention it. I said, hey, by the way, open that up, look at that, this kind of thing. He looks at it, folds it, hands it to me, and he said, can you just stop the paralegals at my door, right? Like just... he didn't even want it, right?
He didn't care.
He wants the good service. You talk to most salespeople in most industries, that's just not going to happen, So, and we'll talk more about sales and marketing and what to do and how to do it. But the discussion today is sales versus service delivery. And what we're saying is focus on your service delivery. Growth through service delivery. Focus on that. You want to talk more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go into some specifics, though. I mean, you go on Reddit, you read the conversations. Yeah, and
love Reddit.
It's a great place, and everybody's got their questions, and everybody's giving opinions. And everybody's the number one thing people will say about sales. Well, mostly I grow through referrals, but what else can I do, right? Everybody's trying to add on to their growth through referrals. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, for most MSPs, the majority of the marketplace, you're not going to move the needle much if it's not a referral. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It's just a reality, and it doesn't matter what crazy marketing package you get.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you invest in taking donuts to all the local businesses, like our competitors we were running up against were doing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I remember one of our customers calling us up and just laughing with us. It's like, hey, I'm eating a donut. Yeah, so-and-so stopped by trying to get our business.
Yep.
We told them, we're really happy with who we have, but we'll keep the donut.
Yep.
And that customer generated over the years 3 referrals for us that turned into new business.
Yeah.
So this notion that that referrals are going to happen automatically, and then that is what it is, but then you got to do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It might pencil for really, really large MSPs in competitive markets, but I think something we didn't really preface for this podcast, another thing I want for this podcast is to be for the 80% of MSPs that aren't represented well.
That's true.
In the vendor and the coaching and consultant space.
Yeah.
So we're talking about when you're under $1 million in revenue, when you're under $5 million in revenue, what helps you get there? What helps you grow?
Yeah.
Sure, if you're a huge organization, you might have a fantastic sales structure.
Sure.
Right. At that point, why do you need our advice?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. And that we are absolutely for that, that kind of size of MSP. Absolutely. Because you're right. Because what we're talking about too is also bandwidth, resources, stuff like that. Like you're trying to make decisions. If you're a very large MSP, you've got hundreds of employees, that kind of thing. Well, you probably have the resources and bandwidth to do it all. Maybe not well, but do it all. But when you're like you said, 80% of the market, you've got to make some decisions. And really, that's kind of that's what we're saying is sprinkle a little bit of sales and marketing. We're not saying not do it, but it shouldn't be your focus.
No.
And if you're trying to make decisions of what to spend time on, definitely always default to spending time on service delivery. Is it being done right? Do you have all your process in place? Are your customers happy? Do you have a relationship with your customers? That's part of your service delivery. That's where your focus should be, and even tools to help you do that. The sales and marketing is an aside. And again, other industries, I know other industries where sales and marketing's number one. It's the number one thing you focus on.
Absolutely.
To get all the other stuff. And I would contend not in our space. That really is where you move the needle. Now, something else that we really focused on, which was a huge thing for us, and hopefully this is a nugget of wisdom out there. I don't know. We'll see. We used to treat every employee of our customers as a potential referral source.
That's right.
So we didn't look at,
just
we didn't look at like, hey, we have a law firm, and that law firm and its point of contact for us is the referral source only. Or, maybe the owner or managing partner, like those 1 or 2 people, like that's our referral source. Like we didn't see it like that. We saw, no, we have a law firm with 40 people. The attorneys, paralegals, accounting people, whoever they had, marketing, whatever. We saw all their employees as a referral source. So what does that mean? Well, we got to know all of them.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard. By the way, all this stuff is hard.
On the service side, it's really hard because I've worked places where the mentality is keep the boss happy.
Yeah.
The boss signed our agreement.
Yeah.
They cut the checks.
Yeah.
The reality is, when we built our business, it's keep everybody happy. And that can be really difficult.
Yeah.
Everybody knows there's horror stories, difficult users. And I remember some of the things you did to bridge the gap with a receptionist who we are not having a good relationship with.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of dividends from that, didn't we?
We did. People would go from one org to, or I should say one place of employment to another.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden we'd get a call. We'd like you to come by. We're looking for some IT service or better IT, something like that. Oh, okay. How'd you hear about us? Oh, well, we just hired so and so.
Yep.
And they were telling us what a great service they got, and that used to happen all the time.
I remember
I
remember one employee. We worked with them at 4 businesses,
Yeah.
and they referred us to the latter 3 of them.
Oh yeah.
What and just an employee.
Yeah. And it is hard. It's not easy. I think you have to tell me if you agree or not. But I think we would find times where we were focused on it and doing it, and then because you're doing so many other things too, then you'd kind of lose focus a little bit and have to jump back in. And that we used to call them we call them pop-ins. You pop in and say hi to the customer, but you also try and go around and say hi to the other employees.
That's right.
Not just your point of contact, but the other employees. And so sometimes we'd have to say, "Whoa, we've gone a couple months or so without doing that." We've kept in contact well with the point of contact, but we got to get back to the other employees too. How's it going?
Yep.
Get handing out swag to them, whatever, and also doing events and things that included all the other employees. Being very, very active on that. For us, it was tied into service delivery. I
remember we hit that point in our growth. I think this is the actionable piece, the piece that hopefully people can implement and help. This happens organically when you're a startup MSP or you're a small MSP. Maybe you're a 10-year-old MSP, but you're not past that 1 million in revenue point.
Yeah.
And you're able to maintain, like you pointed out before, smart IT people can maintain a certain amount of business.
Yeah.
Pretty much naturally.
Yeah.
That's the amount of business that they can maintain because they have personal relationships.
Yeah.
As they try to grow past that, the personal relationships suffer.
Yeah.
They don't have a process to
Yeah.
build it into their service delivery
Yes.
to maintain those relationships, and they'll start to get attrition
Yep.
from the customers who aren't feeling the love anymore.
Yeah.
So that personal thing is there that organically.
Yeah.
But you have to work hard to let it scale.
Absolutely, and you have to be able to track it. So you have to have a software or something that helps you track to know, am I keeping up with my relationship with my customers?
Right.
And am I keeping up with the relationship even beyond just the point of contact with the other employees? You have to have a way to track that and see that. It's very easy in this industry, or as an MSP or an IT service, it's very easy to go 6 months or longer without much contact, other than you're solving tickets. Maybe a tech shows up and replaces a machine, new machine, whatever. But beyond that, the relationship piece of it, it's very easy to go that far and not realize it. So you got to think about it and track it. And again, we see that as part of service delivery because it's part of is everything. How's it going? How's it going? Like, so if you talk to them, how's it going? Everything good? You having any trouble? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, sales versus service delivery. In our long experience in our MSP and other successful ones we've been in, sales is service delivery.
There you go.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That is the number one sales function of your org is your service delivery.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, it is like, where do you put your time and money when you have very limited, of each?
Yeah.
We didn't hire full-time sales when we were in the growth phase.
Yeah.
We didn't hire full-time sales at $1 million or $2 million in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
We did sales, like you said, we sprinkled it in there, sales and marketing. I love some of the marketing, things we had done.
Mm-hmm.
We saw some return on that, but ultimately, we kept coming back to keep focusing on the service delivery.
Yeah.
The service you give when you're a sole proprietor, and when you're 3 people, when you're 7 people, when you're 10 people, it doesn't stay the same organically.
Right.
And that's where we see on the vendor side, now that we're talking with so many different MSPs at different places in their growth journey, we're seeing that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you feel, but when we do demos for Zest and we hear about where they're at and what are you dealing with, I can just see these stumbling blocks people hit.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. We try and help them. Actually, we go far above and beyond to try to give them some advice and help them and that kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely see those stumbling blocks. And really, again, you have to have a real good method of how you're delivering it and the consistency of it and that. And again, it's a focus, and you don't have time to focus on everything. And that really is, like you said, that really is where it's at. We saw many benefits from that. So, and again, I'm sure there's different ways to do things out there, but I do think that the other thing that we saw was keeping your cut. Like, you got to keep that churn almost low to nothing. And we'll talk about customers that maybe are taking too much of your time. We'll talk about that in a minute, but you got to keep that churn really low. It's like a big thing because your efficiencies build in.
Absolutely.
And a lot of stuff builds in. And so, but what we have seen when we were working for other places, when we're just working for other people, is like they were really hot on, sales and marketing stuff and using a lot of different products and things out there in the industry and listening to this person and that person and using leverage numbers that meant nothing for their market.
Right.
Like
all-in-seat prices that are...
Yeah. I mean, if you're in one part of the country versus the other, there's differences there. But they, we worked for places, didn't matter. They're just, they're using this and that and all that. And all of that happening, one of the things we'd see was, they'd gain, 10, 11 customers that year.
Yeah.
They'd lose 10.
I remember
how does that... That's ridiculous.
A year period at a place, 40% MRR addition. They added 40% MRR.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, no actual growth because of attrition.
And I wonder about that. I wonder about the 15-figure MSP and all these programs out there and people pushing these messages. And by the way, we also think that you should have a unique message, unique branding, unique marketing, unique sales. You should do it. And
it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be expertly crafted. It needs to be you. It needs to be unique so you can stand out. Because the box of donuts method. Yeah. We saw multiple competitors doing the box of donut method, and the only thing that was different was the logo on the top of the box. Right. And I don't know. Maybe they had some work for it. They certainly never got any of our customers. Yeah. And when it comes to attrition, you're going to have natural attrition that you can't do anything about.
Yep. People go out of business.
But when we had that law firm, one of our early customers, and they dissolved, over the next 2 years, we had 3 new firms.
We did. We picked up more business from that.
The employees went other places. Some of them started their own firms. And in the end, we had not attrition. We actually had positive growth from that event, which blew me away looking back at it. Yeah. And you bring up a really good point about net or about building upon, because I think a lot of times what's put out there for MSPs to see, like that shiny object, is, 40% growth in MRR. But then how much did they lose maybe? Right. Because again, we've been at places, gained 10 customers, lost 10, or bigger ones where they've gained, 80 and lost 50 or whatever. But, especially for who we're talking to, the 80%, of the market, 70 to 80%, whatever, there's different numbers out there. But your best route to go, in our opinion, is don't lose customers. Absolutely. Do not lose them. Now, there is also this thing out there that gets thrown around, and I don't like it very well, but look at your customers every year. Get rid of the driftwood, get rid of the ones that are giving you trouble. Get rid of the ones that are bad, too many hours and this and that kind of stuff. There is some good in that message. You definitely don't want
customers that are really,
We've seen
taking
it.
that down.
We've seen
Yeah.
we've seen a situation where a customer that's 1/3 the all-in-seat price.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely
Yeah.
not 1/3 the work.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen that.
Yeah.
You want to avoid that.
And I guess why I don't like that message is that, we've always lived by the principle of extreme ownership. And one reason why I don't like that message is because it's probably you as the MSP
Yeah.
or the IT service. It's probably you, the reason that you're losing
Having
money.
you're
You don't
right.
have the right process. You're not doing the right things. You're not doing the things. You
Yeah.
don't have the relationship with this customer
Right.
to either raise their price or to work with them in a way
Make
that the
changes
service
that-
works.
Yeah, to make the changes that are needed.
Yeah. So it's probably you. So we just never took that approach. I mean, we talked about it, we looked at it,
remember-
but we've never went to a customer and said, "Hey,
I remember once too. I thought we were in a situation like that, and I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of pushing for us. Oh, we got to look at this. I think this one customer's killing us. And,
Yeah.
And you're like, well, let's look. I don't know. I don't think so. And
Yep.
when we looked into it, what we found was you were totally right. The only thing that was off was us.
yeah,
And what we didn't realize at the time, that this customer wasn't a noisy customer, an overutilizing
Right.
customer. This was a business that was actually in rapid growth.
yeah,
And they turned from a medium-sized customer to one of our largest customers
Yes.
in the course of a year.
yes,
And so while I'm over here complaining, oh man, we're spending so much time, we're on site all the time, and
Yeah.
what's going on? I don't know. They seem so demanding. They were demanding because they needed the IT service they were
Yes.
paying for to keep up
Yes.
with their business, and,
Yes.
we weren't doing a good job of that. It was us.
that's right. It was us. And when we fixed that, they not only stayed but more money.
Yeah.
We made more money. They felt more value. Like it all worked together. That's why I don't really like that message
Yeah.
sometimes. And so as we do this podcast and talk about, world class, best in class, all that kind of stuff, I think it'll help because there's things that we're all missing sometimes
Yeah.
to really help with that. So again, back to don't lose customers.
Don't lose customers.
Don't lose them. Like that's your sales and market. That's your best sales and marketing.
You're right. And, and you know what the least profitable customer is? It's
Yeah.
a new customer.
Right. It takes you 6 months to dial them in.
Oh,
right?
yeah. We learned that. And obviously, your most profitable customer is probably your oldest one. Now, sometimes
Yeah.
you look and you go, oh, man, we've had 5 years of inflation, and
Yeah.
maybe we have to address that, or we've had new
Right.
tools or whatever. That's totally different.
Yeah.
But when you look at, if your system lets you do it,
Yeah.
you just look at the average number of tickets you're getting, right?
Yeah.
Tickets per endpoint, ticket
Yeah.
per user. Look at that for your customers that are less than a year old. Look at
Yeah.
for 2, 3, 4. You're going to see
Yeah.
that over time it all smooths out. You gel, and the profitability goes through the roof, and you don't want to lose that.
Yeah. No, you did not.
Losing your customer you've had for 5 years,
Yeah.
you can get 3 new sales, and it's probably not going to make up for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, MSPs, IT service, be very careful of the messages you hear.
Yeah.
Be careful of the messages you hear, what you read, all that, and in the end, you made the choice. You had the guts and the fortitude to start your own business, A lot of times you need to listen to, yourself too. Now, you getting training and getting ideas and all that's great. You should do that. But again, keep your uniqueness, and all that kind of stuff. We want to keep this podcast fun and lively though as well, and as we have guests, I think it'll be good. And there's going to be many times that maybe we disagree on stuff and talk about it. But again, it's trying to get good messages out there. And so,
I'm interested in hearing the stories from other people who say, "Oh, what you're talking about is total garbage."
Yeah.
And you know what? That's great.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we run into that all the time. We can only share what worked for us. But I feel like, just to touch on it a little bit, the story of how we built our MSP, I feel like it is worth other people considering.
Yeah.
Because some of the things that happened along the way, I was just blown away by. I remember a customer that we went out and we talked with them, seemed like a great organization. They were experiencing some good growth, and their current IT wasn't keeping up.
Yeah.
And we gave them our quote, and they said, this is more than double what we pay right now.
Yeah.
And we said, we understand that. I know that's a big jump, but we're more than double because you're not going to, because you're going to get different results. And
Yeah.
I was surprised we got them.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward a few years, that business grew well, and they were acquired by a nationwide company with internal IT.
Yep.
And they became just another location
Yep.
of a very large, I think it's 300,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
300 location nationwide corporate ownership of this. And the person that we originally sold, who was the office manager, had become the operations manager for the whole business, the whole site.
Yep.
And she would not let the internal IT fire us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she said, I don't care if we only need them once a year.
Yep.
They were so important.
Yeah.
Such an important part of our business.
Yeah.
And last I heard, they're still a customer.
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah,
blows
absolutely.
me away. And
Yeah.
that's the power that you have when you build a service first MSP.
Yeah.
That,
Absolutely.
I think that's the bottom line message.
Yeah.
Service first, everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. Everything else falls into place. You're going to have to do some of it, but it shouldn't be the main focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I want to talk about today is goats.
Goats. Greatest of all time.
Well, greatest of all time, that would be, for football, that would be Steve Largent.
Oh.
You don't even know. Do you know who that is? You don't know, do you?
I should. He's the greatest of all time, evidently.
Yeah, but you don't know, do you? No, I know. Wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks,
Oh, that's
also known as Yoda. Greatest of all time, for sure. Tom Brady's okay, but Steve Largent, yeah.
Montana's always my goat.
Montana's your
Forever,
goat?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, but you recently built a
Montana
pen for goats.
Won the Super Bowl the day I was born.
Oh, wow.
Joe Montana.
Yeah.
So he's got a special place in my heart.
Okay. Hey, there's some goat to him for sure.
There's some goat. But yes, I have goats now out there in Middleton.
Yeah.
They supposedly eat goat heads if you let them,
Yeah.
but we haven't tried that yet. But yeah, just built a goat
Are
pen.
goat heads everywhere? Or are they just...
No.
Does everyone know what goat heads are? It's...
Only people in on the West Coast, maybe.
Okay. They're this nasty... What would you
They're
call it?
called, some places are called puncture vine.
Yeah.
It's a weed that grows low to the ground, and they basically, it's nature's caltrop.
Yes.
And they stick into you, and they're
Yes.
horrible, and you track them everywhere.
Yeah, they are terrible. They're terrible. So maybe they eat those. You have one goat that's a fainting goat?
We haven't seen him faint yet.
Okay.
We were
I
told
definitely
he's
wanna
a
see
fainting
that.
goat.
I wanna see
He's
it.
pretty cool, but
Yeah.
he hasn't fainted yet. Although we don't try to make him faint. That's a little cruel.
If I came over
I
to
know
your
you
house,
would.
I would try.
Yeah, you'd be startling him, yeah.
So the goat thing is awesome. That's great. Speaking of goat heads, and this will be a subject, again, teaser subject, but tools, tools and what you use, all that. There's a lot of goat head tools out there that's just going to puncture
It's true.
your process, puncture your, because again, it's about that service delivery, relationship, that kind of thing. And if you get too heavy into tools, too heavy into this, products and things that get your head into them, and you're not focusing on your customers and your service delivery and your process and all that stuff, which a lot of vendors and tools and things out there promise to do,
Right.
but none of them do it for you. They don't. And so you've got to do that. And then a tool comes in and it helps a little bit, but it will not solve problems. You've got to solve those
That's right.
and then bring in a tool to assist a little bit. But we'll talk about that too one of these
Yeah,
times.
that's a good topic.
No goat heads. We might have to bring one next time. Zoom in on
I've
it.
got plenty.
They're nasty. They're bad.
My wife, Anna, hates them so
Yeah,
much.
they're
It
bad.
drives her insane.
Yeah.
And so we bought a goat head roller,
Yeah.
which is a drum that you push, and it's got like a carpety material on it, and it picks up the goat heads and puts them into a tray.
That is
And-
awesome.
And she has probably picked up if I were just to estimate,
Yeah.
300 to 400 pounds of goat heads.
Oh my God.
And we put them in a big pile and burn them all.
Yeah.
So it's a never-ending battle, but we're slowly making progress.
You kind of live a little bit out in the country. I'm more in the city.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I've got a
Yeah.
quick commute, but I'm out. Yeah, I'm outside the city limits. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Well, Chad, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm excited for this MSP Kingdom podcast.
Everything MSP.
It's going to be good. And last is we want to say that our next podcast should be with the CEO of Huntress, Kyle.
Yeah, I'm blown away.
We are
very excited.
Oh, I mean,
Huge
first of
Huntress
all,
fans.
Huge Huntress fans, amazing product. But he's awesome. So if that happens, it's going to be good. So, all right.
All right. Well, it's been great.